Blur, get the Dinobots in the shuttle. I'm trying to, older madness. I don't care. Oh, hey, what's up? It's Fable from One Collection Down, and you're watching S-Fawn 82, Comic Book Addicts. Station.
What's up, y'all? Station, and welcome to Comic Book Addicts. It's Monday. It's episode 57, and it's the start of a brand new month. It's the beginning of a brand new month. Spring is approaching. We have just a few more weeks, and hopefully we'll be getting into some more pleasant weather, and I know I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I hope you guys are all doing well this Monday. It's also Monday also means it's time for more Monday Night Lineup, which is an evening full of awesome comic book live streams. And Izzy kicked it off with the comic book weekly pull list at 6:30. If you've never checked it out, he goes through the hot 10 list in comics and kind of breaks it down. And plus, he does a weekly giveaway. So if you want a chance at winning some free stuff, you should check it out. He does a really good job over there. It's Izzyverse NYC at 6:30. And then, as usual, after that, we got Comic Book Addicts. And I got a really good schedule coming up. Got some really good guests. Next week, we'll have Chris and Ralph Productions. We're going to talk about some movies, some films. Chris does a lot of movie reviews, so that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a change of pace next week. But we also got a lot of cool guests coming up as well. Katie, K-Pop, Trish Forstner, Sonia Saturday, amazing artist. Will be here for my birthday show. Ryan Colossus Collector. World at War Comics. He's got Kingsville 2s coming out, so we're going to be talking to him about that. Awesome collector LJ Alfaro. Brian Silverbacks will be here April 29th. We got my main man Shop for Comics May 6th. And then May 13th, we're going to do a recovery week. We're going to circle back to talking some recovery because it's been a little while since we've had a recovery related guest and just touched on that. So definitely want to circle back to that. And then May 20th, we will have Black Box Comics. So we got a lot of cool guests. I hope that you guys will come back on Mondays, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time and hang out with me for that. 8:35 p.m. Eastern time. Normally we have Between the Lines. They had Big B McFly scheduled for tonight. But I think it's actually going to be canceled. Travis is feeling sick, I think. So they had to cancel tonight. So Travis, I hope you get to feeling better, man. But they will be back next week over at Geek Out with Roscoe's channel. So be sure to come back next week for that. And 22 Comics is still going to go at 9 p.m. with his top 10 alternatives. One of my favorite comic book related live streams. He gives you an alternative pick for each one of the comics in the hot 10 list. And it's probably much better, more affordable things to go after, kind of some cold spec stuff. But he comes up with some really, really good, really interesting stuff, and that's why I like watching him. So check it out, 22 Comics, 9 p.m. And then wrapping up the night, we got Cuppo Comics with his Monday Night Raw books at 10 p.m. Eastern time. So be sure to go hang out with Will over at Cuppo Comics on YouTube. It's going to be a lot of fun. And let's see what else we got. Oh, yeah, I wanted to take a minute to shout out one of my favorite comic shops, y'all. Nirvana Comics. This past Friday, it was announced that Nirvana Comics was the winner of Image Comics' first ever comic shop retailer award. And I forget the exact specifications, but it's basically the shops that go above and beyond to make sure that they keep indie books in stock, knowledgeable shops that are friendly, welcoming, and do good things in the community. And Nirvana Comics, they exceed all of those. They do all of that and then some. Really good comic shop. I wanted to shout them out. If you're ever in East Tennessee in Knoxville, check out Nirvana Comics. They are awesome. And also wanted to talk about this past Friday, Brian LCS went live to discuss some of the details for the 2024 CBC Awards. So if you want to check it out, you can find it on Brian LCS's channel. But this is the basics of it. You can also find it at www.cbcawards.org. But this is the basic layout for everything. It's going to kick off, June 15th and run through, June, July, August 10th, open nominations. So yeah, I'm looking forward to 2024. Ready for that to kick off. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I wanted to be sure to mention that. But we got an awesome guest tonight. Let's see who is in the chat real quick. We got some really awesome people in the chat tonight. Las Crucius, as usual, first in the chat. He says, hooray. What's going on, Las Crucius? I hope you're doing well this evening, man. He also says, woohoo and hello from New Mexico. Well, hello from Chattanooga, Las Crucius. I hope you're doing well, brother. And thank you for coming out this evening. We got Comic Cap Collectibles. He says, hello, all. What's up, Scotty? What's up, Comic Cap? Thanks for coming out and hanging out with me this evening. We got Brian. I was just mentioning the Godfather, Brian LCS. He says, good evening. And like I said, the CBC Awards 2024 will be kicking off here soon. So I'm looking forward to another year of that. It's going to be, what is it, year 4 now? Year 4, I think. Let's see, we got Vogs in the chat. He says, S. Vaughn, what's going on, Vogs? Thanks for coming out, man. I appreciate you coming out this evening. Oh, we got my comic pops, Lorenzo, Indie Comics and Reviews. He says, hey, Scotty in chat. What's going on, Pops? I hope you're doing well. I hope that you're feeling better, man. I messaged him earlier and was talking to him a little bit earlier, and hope you're feeling better, man. I hope you're having a great day. But anyways, let's get the guest out here. We have an awesome guest this week. Somebody that I found through, I found him. He first caught my attention through X11 Bravo, friend of mine on IG. And I was told that I definitely needed to check out this Morpheus guy and what he talks about on his Instagram. So I started following him, and this guy is an absolute beast. His thoughts that he shares are really good at making you step back and take a second to think about things. I love the way he approaches life with his rise and grind philosophy. He served in the Navy as a personal trainer and is also director of exclusive sales at Massive Publishing. And these are just a few things on the man's resume. Really busy guy. So I'm very fortunate and very happy that he could come hang out with us tonight. Y'all help me welcome Morpheus Multiverse to the live stream. What's up, man?
Hey, Scotty, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Glad to have you hanging out with us this evening. Hope you're doing well.
All doing great, man. It's Monday, So again, I shout out to you, man. Shout out to you and everything you do and getting this channel going and what you do with this channel and everybody that's here, man. So shout out to you. I really appreciate the opportunity to even come here and talk. So thank you very much, man. Again, recognition, man. You're doing your thing. You're doing your thing, and I see you, and I love that.
Thank you, man. And I also see you, like I was saying before. I found you through a friend, X11 Bravo. He highly recommended you. Told me I had to check out your content, that you had some really good stuff. And so I did. I went over and checked it out, and I was really glad, man, because I like a lot of the stuff that you're sharing over there. And when I saw it, I was like, I absolutely have to get this guy with the type of messages and stuff that I'm trying to push on this channel. I feel like you bring something really positive, but also different than I don't know, man. It's just refreshing, I guess. And just wanted to bring you on here and talk to you a little bit about some of that stuff. And also, you're a comic book collector as well, so I love to talk to people about their origin story and find out what got people collecting. And just love to find out the little stories and what people's favorite characters are and favorite comic books and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, where you're from, what you like to do, all that good stuff.
Wow. Okay, yeah. So I hail from Louisville, Kentucky. So I'm from Kentucky originally as an Army brat. I started collecting comic books in 1991. X-Force 1 was like that very first book for me, and then I backtracked from there. But back then in high school, so I was a jock, so I played football, and so I started playing, I played football late in life, so I was very shielded as a kid. I'm an only child. So I was collecting comic books, reading comic books. I'm a nerd, I love that, and I loved comic books. I loved reading, but then I hit my growth spurt early. So by 12 years old, I was already almost 200 pounds. So I got recruited to football. Jeez. Yeah. So kind of switched gears. I don't want to say I lost comic books, but like I became an athlete. I was a blue chip athlete. I wound up playing football collegiately at the University of Washington and Murray State University. I'm a running back. Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of took foothold. Then after
running back?
Yeah, I'm a running back.
Cool, man. That is so cool.
So, I love the game of football so much, man. That's like I say, I'm multidimensional, man. That's why I chose the name Multiverse, because I do so much, man. I'm a nerd. I'm a weightlifter, bodybuilder, football player, motorcycle rider, like I do all these things. But
yes,
So after college, I obviously didn't get drafted. My dream was to go to the NFL. That didn't happen. So I joined the military. Wound up in the Navy. I'm a corpsman. I'm a hospital corpsman. So basically, for those that don't know what that is, I'm a medic. But we don't like being called medics in the Navy. We're corpsmen. That's our term,
Okay.
But the Marine Corps does not have their own medical personnel. So they take from the Navy. So 17 of my 22 years was spent with the Marine Corps at Camp Pendleton, California. So I did 3 tours in Iraq. I'm a combat vet. So then after I was getting ready to retire, so one of the big things I did later on in my career was talking. Again, I was a combat medicine instructor. Taught combat medicine to the new sailors coming in to be with the Marine Corps. I got into leadership facilitation, diversity, equity, inclusion facilitation. So basically, I did a lot of talking. So my goal was, when I was getting ready to retire, was to be a professional speaker. I was be a DI facilitator, motivational speaking, keynote speaker. I've spoken for the Navy SEAL Foundation. I've done a lot of that stuff. And then COVID kind of messed all that up. And COVID is what got me back into comic books, believe it or not. It's funny because we're stuck in the house. I'm like, well, let me start hard copy collecting again since I can. I'm getting ready to retire. And I went down a rabbit hole. I got, we're stuck by COVID. And so I'm watching YouTube. I love watching YouTube and theories and all this stuff and spoiler culture. I loved it all. And believe it or not, I found Comic Tom. And from Comic Tom, I found Whatnot. And then I realized how easy it was to buy comic books on an online platform. And I went nuts. I spent like a band my first week on Whatnot. It was crazy.
Jeez, man.
But then I saw these live auctions. I saw these live platforms. I was like, ooh, people are talking. Like, I can do this. I can talk. I love to talk. So it took me a couple applications, but I finally got on Whatnot. And it was crazy because I started doing my own. I started from the ground up. But it was the biggest thing that really changed everything for me and got me to where I'm at is that I realized who was around me. So I started seeing people. So some of the, more prominent names on Whatnot, Genghis Sean, I was hanging with Comics Lounge, Haha You Wish. And I'm seeing all these people and realizing they're in the same city as me. Cool. So we all kind of linked up and, really they took me under their wings. Yeah. Genghis Sean was the biggest one. Genghis Sean. I don't even know who Genghis Sean is, but he was one of the biggest ones. If you talk about positivity, that's another positive guy. I love him. He's such an inspiration. And he took me under his wing, went to Amazing Con Las Vegas. It was almost 3 years ago now. Cool. Linked up with Haha You Wish, who's known for doing his charity streams. He does a lot of charity streams on a regular basis, donating all that stuff to different charities, and kind of went from there. And then all of a sudden now I'm all over the place, traveling to every convention every year, like going to New York Comic Con, going to Amazing Con, going to C2E2 all the time, but at the end of the day, one of the biggest things that I love is people. People are my passion. And so one of the biggest things I always loved about everything I did, it wasn't about selling comic books. It was about the people that I interacted with, because I look at it like this, right? When it comes to comic books are an escape for a lot of people. They were for me, because before I hit that growth spurt and became an athlete, I was picked on as a kid. I was different. I was weird. I was a nerd. I got picked on a lot.
A lot of us were.
So comic books were that escape. So a lot of us dealt with a lot of things in our lives. So everybody has trauma, no matter who you are. Everybody has something. Everybody has a story, so I look at people in our community, and a lot of us keep a lot of our stuff bottled up. So I'm very transparent about me and my mental health. I'm a combat vet. I do have combat PTSD. I have BPD. I have generalized anxiety. I have LMNOP, QRSTUV. I have every letter of the alphabet up here. But therapy changed my life. I've been in therapy nonstop for the last 12 years, and therapy changed my life. And so I knew how hard it was for me to get into therapy. So I see a lot of people that struggle, and I like to consider myself a bridge, and so if you're not ready to go to therapy yet, that's fine. But let me let you know and normalize what you're going through and let you know that you're not alone. So that's one of the biggest things that, again, people are my passion, and seeing people and hearing people's stories and just empathizing with people. Empathy is probably the biggest thing. That's the trademark of anything and everything that I do. It always revolves around empathy, because that's one of the biggest things we're lacking in this world right now is empathy. Not sympathy, but empathy. Empathy is a big thing. It's just taking a moment to stop and put yourself in somebody else's shoes. So absolutely.
I love that. And exactly what you just said. That's exactly why I wanted to have you here tonight, man. And thank you for your service, by the way. Thank you for your service, man.
I kept re-enlisting. I loved what I did. I love what I
Yeah,
do.
dude,
Got to take
you've
care of
been
Marines, keep them alive.
you've lived a busy life, and I love the message that you're spreading with people. What is, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. What is the, I mentioned it when I was introducing you. What is this rise and grind? You have this philosophy that you seem to live by called rise and grind.
Yeah.
Where did this come from? What's it about? Tell us about rise and grind.
So, I was one of those meatheads. Again, I'm a gym guy. I'm a fitness guy. So not only obviously in the military, but I've been a personal trainer since like 2008. So I'm a gym head, right? I played football. I've done bodybuilding. I've done obstacle course races. I've done it all. And so I'm always training. I'm always in the gym. It's what I do. So I'm one of those guys that's in the gym at 5 a.m. because I hate going in the afternoons. I'm tired.
Okay.
So I was always that guy on social media. I'd always be the one posting my pictures in the gym at 5 a.m. And, and people saying their things. So I'm like, you know what? Let me start saying something, right? Let me find a way to just talk, because right now I'm stuck and I can't talk to people. And again, we're talking about COVID time frame too. People are locked indoors. People are really on social media. How can we get something out there? Because a lot of people were struggling with a lot mental health wise during COVID. It took me out. Right. So,
we were all struggling. It was a hard time for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm up early, and and one of the biggest things that I loved about the military that I missed the most was being able to lead. I'm a leader of sailors and Marines, and I always had sailors and Marines under me. And I loved being able to mold and impact young minds and give them servant leadership. My philosophy has always been take care of your people, they'll take care of you. And so I missed that. I missed being able to give a message to people on a daily basis and inspire them and give them hope more than anything. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just say what it really revolved around was stuff that I was going through, because I struggle. Every day is a battle. Every day is a battle. Every day is a fight. So I figure if I'm going through something, somebody else probably is too. So whatever I'm kind of thinking about or facing that day when I wake up in the morning, I share it, because I'm like, if I'm facing it, but I'm finding a way to work through it, let me say something about it. And hopefully that can reach somebody and help them work through it too.
Man,
and then it just led from there. So I'm posting. I started posting stories on a regular basis. Hey, rise and grind. It kind of turned into rise and thrive. And I'm talking about empathy. I'm talking about taking care of each other, listening to each other, validating people, affirming people. And trying to inspire people that when you're struggling, when you think that you can't keep going on, you can, because everybody has a purpose at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And let's see. I was going to ask you about, there was something else that I saw that I really liked as well. Crap, I lost it. I don't know. I'll come to it. Anyways, one of the other reasons why I wanted to ask you on is I noticed that you also post a lot of the comic book stuff. You mentioned, you were just telling us the X-Force One, your first comic book. And you were really into comic books in the 90s, and then COVID, obviously, like a lot of us, brought you back to the hobby, which is awesome. But as far as comics go, like what's your relationship with comics nowadays? Are you still collecting? Are you a seller, or do you do all of the above?
Oh, wow, it's all the above. So one of the things that I really got into that I love the most, it became my thing. It's like my niche. It's like my niche that everybody knows me for this. Is hip hop variants. So I'm a big hip hop head, and I got a bunch of them behind me. There's 100, Marvel, for those that don't know about, and most people do, but Marvel back in 2016, 2017, they did an official run of hip hop album cover swipes. And they did 147 different ones.
Geez,
a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people didn't realize how many there were. There's 147 different ones. Jeez. And I finally have all 147. So what I do is I've always, when I see them, I grab them. When I see every convention I go to, that's the biggest thing I hunt for. If I'm hunting and bin diving, I'm bin diving for hip hop variants, and I'll grab them if I see them. So I have multiple copies. So about, as a seller, because I am a seller, I'm a seller on Whatnot and eBay Live. And so every 2 months, I'll do a big hip hop themed show, because I know all these album covers. I know all the songs. I listen to music. 90s R&B and hip hop raised me. So I share that, but yeah, the biggest one I finally got is right behind me there. It's the Deadpool. So that one was the hardest one to get, because it was the most expensive one.
You also have You also have one of my very favorites, the Nas Illmatic cover
Yeah,
that you guys
it's a
did. I
it's a
love
9.8
that.
too. It's a
I love
9.8 too.
that.
I finally got a 9.8. Yeah, those are
Man.
so hard. Those are so hard to get in high grades just because you figure the paper quality and the ink quality in 2015 and 2016 was not that great. And those covers are predominantly black, so they color up very easily. So it's hard to get them in 9.8s. But that Deadpool, I'm so proud of it. I mean, it's not my favorite cover, but that was the hardest one to get because it was an issue. It was a 1 in 100 incentive cover of issue number 2. And so, people in issue number 1s, yeah, everybody's get a 1 in 100. But in issue number 2, 1 in 100, and that's the vanilla. Yeah, not too many. That's the vanilla ice to the extreme cover swipe. And so that book raw is about a $500 book. That slab is a 9.6 signed by Hawthorne. So that's about a $1,500 slab on that one. So that one I was able to get a good deal on it. Yeah. But that was the last one I needed to complete my collection. So I have every single one of them.
Dude, I love those. I did not realize that there were so many of those, though. I have a few in my collection because I grew up. My very best friend growing up was a DJ, so I really appreciate hip hop for what it is. And like Nas Illmatic, for example, that's a classic 5 mic album, good all the way through. But I really grew to appreciate hip hop through my best friend growing up and him being a DJ. Dude, I had no idea that there were so many of those, but they're awesome. I can totally understand wanting to collect those and appreciating them. I see it, man. That's really cool. I haven't had anybody on that. I don't know. I probably had a lot of people on that collect them, but not with a passion like that and has so many, dude. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm known for that. So, because I know every album cover, I know every single album cover, I know songs on every album. So it's like when I'm doing my live streams selling them, I pop out the album of whatever book's running, and I'll play music from that album because I have it saved on my Apple Music.
So, and you're talking about your selling on Whatnot as well as eBay. Where can people find you if they're not familiar with you and they want to check out what you got for sale? Where can they find you?
So on Whatnot, it's Morpheus 1914. So I've had the name Morpheus since 2003. So it's not just a comic book name. I've had that name. People call me Morph. Yeah, so really long time I've had that name. So Whatnot is Morpheus 1914. 1914 is the year my fraternity was founded. So that's a big thing for me. I'm a frat guy. Cool. Yeah. So, but on eBay, you can find me. It's same as my YouTube and same as everything. It's same as my Instagram. It's Morpheus_Multiverse.
Okay, so the same as your Instagram with the eBay.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. What type of stuff do you have up for sale on there right now?
So right now I'm just doing live. So the way the eBay runs,
you're doing live auction?
Yeah, I do live auctions. Gotcha. So I've got so I've been I got a bunch of different exclusives. I got some that I've done over the last 6 months. Some John Jang exclusives, some stuff with Kyle Willis, some stuff John with Dietrich Smith. Yeah, so one of the big I was so proud of to be able to do was Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer. And I grabbed Dietrich Smith. He's a good friend of mine. If people don't know who Dietrich Smith is, he's part of the holy trinity of Do You Poo. So he did the interiors on Do You Poo for Marat Michaels. And I love Dietrich. He's an amazing human being. And so I had him do a cover for me. And so I did a trade and a sketch cover of that. And I love that book so much because I'm very proud of David Crownson and what he's done with that book and to be able to get it published with us over at Massive. I love that story. So, yeah.
And let's touch a little bit on the Massive thing. What exactly is it that you do over at Massive Publishing?
Oh, wow. So for people that don't know how exclusives actually work, so every publisher has that one guy who's known as the exclusive guy. So, if you're a retailer and you want to do an exclusive, there's that one guy you reach out to, and they're the ones they're pushing out emails to distro lists. And if you don't know, you got to find it to get on it. And literally it's just a matter of connecting with the individual, connecting with the retailer that wants to do an exclusive. And you got to, you're projecting months out, obviously, right? Because there's a whole vetting process. We got to get the artist approved. If you want to do a specific book, that's fine. You reach out. Cool, it's the book I want to do. 2 months, at least 2 months out, usually about 8 to 12 weeks out. And then, hey, you want to do a cover for this? Hey, who's your artist? Get the artist approved. Make sure we're okay with the artist. Submit your concept art. Concept art gets approved. Then we do the final art, and we get that approved. And then we just go from there. We put the art on a book, and then you publish it, and you can put your logo on the back if you want to.
So and where can you mentioned John Jang, man? A lot of people watching right now are big lot of John Jank fans out there. Where can they find that cover at? Where can they pick that up?
Oh, my
Yeah.
John Jang. I
Is
do
it for
have
sale?
a shop. I do have a Shopify also. So you can go to my Shopify. It's literally Morpheus. Is it underscore Morpheus Multiverse.com. It's MorpheusMultiverse.com. And you can find my John Jangs on there. I've got a Spider Gwen Smash #1, Gwenum, Trade and Virgin, Duke #1, Cobra Commander #1 by John Jang. Yeah, I love
Oh,
John.
wow.
John's an amazing human being, man. He's done a lot of books for us in the past. I led the conglomerate. Near Mint All Stars were a group of retailers that came together to do a bunch of books, and so that John's worked with us a lot in the past, and he's just an amazing guy, man. He's always a man of the people, so I love him.
Dude, that's awesome. I was talking to you a little bit about, I don't know, you said Duke and Cobra Commander. It made me think of we were talking backstage a little bit about things that you collected and different runs and stuff. And
wow.
You mentioned that you had the whole freaking run for what, Transformers and G.I. Joe or something?
Yeah. For some reason I went on a kick when I was a kid, and I was just very determined, because I think what it was as a kid, I was intimidated by all the different titles for X. I loved X-Men, right? But I'm like, man, we got all these different titles. We got X. As a kid, I didn't understand it, right? I mean, I watched the cartoon. I know about X-Men. I would read what I could, but I'm like, we got X-Force, X-Men, Uncanny X-Men. We got X-Factor. We got this, that. And it was intimidating. So as a kid, to be able to see, and I loved Transformers. I loved the cartoon. I said, oh, I got Transformers and G.I. Joe. Say less. And so I literally, and as a kid, it was cool because I actually knew back then to bag and board my stuff. So, I would read it because, I'm one of those, I'll look at like comic books are meant to be read, so I would read it, bag and board it, put it away. And so, yeah, I have a complete run of the original Transformers, a complete run of the original G.I. Joe. The limited series they did, the 4-issue limited series where they did the little crossover back then with G.I. Joe and Transformers. I got that, so that was the ones I was determined to make sure I had every single issue of, because I don't know, I just loved it. I loved Transformers and G.I. Joe as a kid. That was my thing.
Yeah, man. I thought that was pretty cool when you were talking about that. And the Energon universe, how do you feel about that? Have you been reading any of it?
Yes, I'm excited. I love it. I love what they've done with Energon Universe. It's a fresh take and still bringing back classic characters, and not like this crazy. A lot of times you see people constantly rebooting and it gets old and redundant. I feel like it's a very fresh take on what they're doing with the actual Transformers and G.I. Joe crossover, and seeing what's happening, the return of Megatron now, and the trade paperback's going to be coming out soon, and the Energon Universe issue #1 is going to be coming out soon, and I love what they're doing with the whole Energon thing, and then you got Cobra Commander, and you got Cobra like taking the Energon, so it's like there's so much to it. I love it. I think it's a really fresh take and an enjoyable read right now.
I think so too. I agree with, I totally agree. The only one that I have not read is Duke, but I'm reading every other one. Void Rivals is good. Cobra Commanders, they've all been really good, man. It's been like you said, a fresh take. It's been fun. I'm having fun with it so far. But yeah, I was curious after, you collecting the whole original run and everything and having read all that stuff, how you felt about the Energon universe. If it does it stack up? Is it any good to you?
Yeah, it is. I'm actually, that's one of the things I'm enjoying that right now, is that. So,
well, you're a personal trainer, so you're probably you're out there killing it. You do so many things, and there's so many things I wanted to touch on. What are some goals that you have for yourself for 2024? Are you a goal-oriented person? Are you because I have to have goal. I'm a goal-oriented person. I have to have short-term goals and long-term goals at all times. That's the way I work.
I love it.
Are you that way as well?
Yes. So I'm like, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. That's just me, but I do believe in vision boards. I do believe in, starting off and saying, hey, okay, plotting out what I call military. We call them 30, 60, 90s. And so plotting out things that are short term, and then onto that long term type stuff. Right. So
yeah.
One of the biggest things that I've learned in life is that it's okay to start over, to pivot and adjust, because every step of our journey as we're going along the way is meant to shape us in some shape, form, or fashion. One of the biggest things that I'm realizing right now is I'm not meant to be a comic book retailer for the rest of my life. I love it. I love I love it because of the people. I've met some of the most amazing people in my life, honestly, because of Whatnot. I was able to meet some of the most amazing people in my life and establish lifelong friendships because of this, and not just with other retailers, but with buyers, and artists. Like I work with a lot of artists, and I love them. They're amazing. Like Kevin, Kevin Eastman is a good friend of mine right now, and I love him. He's such a
Wow.
nice guy. He's right here in San Diego with us, and we see him all the time. And he's such a nice guy, man. I love Kevin. He's a great guy. But yeah, so I've learned now, because I thought that that's what I wanted to do last year. I was like, I'm going to be this great big retailer. I'm going to do all these things with these artists. I'm going to run whatnot. I'm going to do all this stuff. Right. And then I realized real quick, like, no, it's not for me. I had to really stop and take a step back and analyze who I am and what I'm doing and go back to the basics, right? A lot of times when we're trying to get a fresh take on things, something just doesn't feel right, you got to take a step back. And the start of this year, I had to do that because I'm gonna be frank with you. I got overly ambitious with New York Comic Con. I took my team, the Near Men All Stars is a conglomerate of myself, Genghis Sean, Thick Boy Comics, Dan Penn from Cali, Bloodhaven Night Comics. We're a whole big team. Sir Swole, Mellow for Prez. There's a whole team of us. There was like in AGK Comics. There's a whole team of us. And I was like, we're going to do all these great things. And so we brought Tahani Farr and Sozo Micah to New York Comic Con, and we tried to push out, I think, like 5 exclusives. And again, we're small time. We're not BTC. We're not, KRS Comics. We're not this huge retailer, but we're trying to do these big things with a bunch of people. And it destroyed it. Really, I'm sorry, it affected my mental health. It took me out. I dove head first, and it took me out. Because I went in over my head, and I invested a lot of money trying to make it work, and I didn't get a return on it. And so, and it was stressful at that. I know, in what we do, you're going to lose money. I get it. Right. But it took me out mentally. So I had to really evaluate what I was doing, because I'm a very ambitious guy. I'm a humble guy, but I'm also very ambitious. I'm ambitious as heck. Like I'm always
see
trying
it, man. You got a lot of drive. That's why I wanted you. I'm hoping it'll rub off on me a little bit.
Listen, we all got a purpose, man. We all have a purpose, and I'm telling you, like, I admire you right now, Scotty, like real talk. And after what you told me backstage and seeing what you're doing here right now, and the people that you got here in the chat that you impact people on a daily basis, man. So shout out to you, man. Like it's very admirable. So it's very inspirational to me. Like I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, dude. That really means a lot, because I seriously do have serious goals, and I want to make a difference, man. I want to do things to impact other people.
Wow. And you're doing it. I love it. And you're doing it. But yeah, so for me, I had to take a step back and had to go back to the basics. And the basics for me is, what is my passion? And again, I've said it before, my passion is people. What is my gift? I have the gift of gab. I am blessed with the ability to talk.
You're a great speaker.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Like I have a presence, and I capture people with the things that I say. I've been on stage with, in the military, like I've led so many leadership symposiums and talked in front of like 1,000 people at a time. And I love it. I love it. So I've got to get back to that. So my goal this year is to take and go back to professional speaking. And it is to speak in front of people again. And that's going to be, I want that to be like the focus for me. Like, of course, I'm still going to be involved. I love this community. I love the people. I've met so many great people. I met people like you, so it's like, this is cool. So I want to keep this, but I know my passion. I know what I'm meant to do. My purpose is to impact people with what I have to say. And so I need to get on a mic, on a stage in front of a large group of people. And so that is my goal this year. So I've jumped on board with, for anybody that's familiar with the professional speaking world, there's a bunch of different consultant groups out there. So I've researched a lot of them. I've known about them for years. I finally jumped on board with one. And so, that's going to be that's my goal. I have short-term goals with speaking and long-term goals with speaking this year, but really my goal is to be doing at least 3 to 4 public performances on stage by June. Is to be back on stage again for small businesses. That's the biggest thing the short-term goals for me right now. And with the consulting group is to narrow down my message and find my audience, and to find my audience and where it can do the most good. So that's what we're working on right now.
Man, and I think you're gonna do great. I know you're gonna do great, man. You're great at what you do. You're a great speaker. You're highly ambitious. I do want to ask you though, you were talking about kind of getting in a funk, and I could really relate to what you were saying when you were talking about it, because I've kind of been going through it a little bit myself, where you're just really trying to work towards a goal, and I don't know, it's just not seeing the results that you want. And how are you able to get yourself, when you get down like that, how are you able to pull yourself out of it?
Whew. Child,
I know it's not easy.
It's not easy, right? It's not easy, and unfortunately, because of this era of social media, we see the highlights of everybody, right? We don't see the stuff behind the scenes, and that literally I have to force myself out of bed every day. So again, I'm struggling with, I have night terrors, right? Night terrors. The depression that comes along with it. And sometimes I just don't want to get up. But one of the biggest things that I do, is I speak life into myself. And I tell people to do this on a regular basis. And to some people, it may sound cheesy, but it's a real thing, right? So, you can't wait around for somebody else to affirm you. Unfortunately, right? It's nice to have people, right? I love being affirmed by people. I know we like, as human beings, the biggest things we want from others, we want to be validated, right?
Yes.
And affirmations can come along with that. We want those things. We want to be able to be validated and feel like we have that purpose and we have that meaning. But a lot of times we have, one of the biggest things we have to learn about ourselves as human beings is to affirm and validate ourselves. Because unless we have that self-love, unless we learn to really love ourselves, it's not going to change. It's going to be a band-aid. So what I literally have to do every day is I have to get up and go straight to my mirror in the bathroom and tell myself I'm worthy. Because imposter syndrome is a real thing, and it can cripple you, can take you out. So, I even though I can talk a lot, I can talk a big game and it sounds great, at the end of the day, I struggle so hard. I'm a survivor of a suicide attempt. I'm still here. I'm here for a reason. Again, we all have a purpose, but I got to speak life into myself. So I tell people, when you're struggling with that, go get in the mirror, look yourself in the mirror and say, I am worthy. I am great. I have a purpose and I can do this. And, a lot of times when we hit those roadblocks, when we're feeling like, something's just not right, man, brother, I'm gonna tell you that's that thing telling us that we need to adjust and we might need to do something a little bit different. It could be something as simple as an angle or who we're talking to or who we're trying to reach and how we're actually trying to do it, but that's what it is. It's time to adjust and pivot a little bit. And that's really what that means. Sometimes something's just not right. It's making those small changes. You got to adjust. Like I said, again, I'm ambitious. I'm going to do all these great things with comics. And then I found out real quick that it just took me out mentally and emotionally. So it's it made me stop and have to reevaluate. And that was my learning process. I needed that. We need trials and tribulations, right? We have to have adversity. Growth only comes from adversity. Right. We want to be, everything feels great when it's all comfortable and soft and warm and fuzzy, but there's no growth there. We're meant to be the best version of ourselves. And the only way we can be the best version of ourselves is to grow. And the only way we can grow is through trials and tribulations and adversity to challenge us so that we can prove to ourselves that we can overcome it and level up. It's all about that leveling up and getting ready for that next challenge. Hey, I can overcome this one. So here, let me get ready for the next one. Oh, here's this one. It's going to be hard. Let me work up and just keep going. It's a stair-step approach, right? But we got to have that adversity. We got to have it because it teaches us something. So I learned real quick about what happened in New York Comic Con. I learned real quick that I'm not supposed to do this like this. Not like this. I'm still meant to impact people and reach people, but I got to figure out the right way to do it. And that was, whether, no matter what you believe in, it was me being told, you know what, Morpheus, it's time for you to get back on stage and get a microphone. That's what you need to do. So you need to figure it out. So I'm like, okay, let me figure it out. So
I'm glad that you're taking the steps, man. I really am. I do feel like that's the right direction for you. What would you tell somebody that you were working with if they came to you and told you that their life felt stagnant, that they felt like they were spinning their wheels but not really going anywhere?
If someone told me they were stagnant, then that's about a self-reflection and evaluation, and a lot of times when I take somebody when someone is stagnant, there's also a little bit of that depression piece that comes along with it, that sad piece, like, hey, am I not meant to do something? So my big thing that I like to do is to speak life into people and remind them that they are worthy and they have purpose, but we got to figure out what that purpose is. And that's when we start having that talk, and we start, like we ask those rhetorical questions so you can start answering them yourselves. Like, what do you love most? Like, what is it that you really love? What do you enjoy? Like, people have a calling. Everybody has a purpose.
Yeah.
Part of life is figuring out what that purpose is. And again, so a lot of people get scared that if they get into this position, let's hypothetically say someone's a freaking mechanical engineer, and all of a sudden, like, this is what I'm supposed to do, so this is where I'm going to stay, but I'm not really happy. There's nothing wrong with going and getting all that schooling, becoming a mechanical engineer, and then 10 years down the road, you say, you know what, I'm not supposed to be there. I'm supposed to be a pastor. And you go preach, right? So there's nothing wrong with doing a complete 180. That's the biggest thing that I will tell people when they get stagnant is, you got to do self-reflection. You got to stop and look at yourself, realize and think about what your passion is, what your gifts and talents are, right? And realize that it might not necessarily be tied to exactly what you're doing right now. A good friend of mine, perfect example, and he's an artist and he's working hard. William Tolliver was in med school to be a doctor, and now he's an artist.
Wow.
So it's like, it doesn't matter where just because you get funneled into something doesn't mean that's where you're supposed to stay. Like, I thought I was supposed to be an NFL football player. That didn't happen. I joined the Navy. I thought that where I went in my career, I was going to be a master chief in the Navy, and I was going to do all these great things in the Navy. And you know what? I realized real quick that, that didn't happen. Did I impact a lot of people? Yeah, but I was meant to do it at the level that I was at. So I had to learn and accept that. And then now I'm out of the military. It's like, okay, what am I doing next? Again, I was, COVID changed everything. It led me here. So I know that my purpose and calling was to impact people in our community, in this comic book community right now in this time, right? That I was meant to do that. And I have impacted a lot of people. We had this talk when we were backstage. I was wondering, like, man, sometimes that imposter syndrome makes me wonder, like, does what I say matter? Is it making a difference? Right. But I kid you not, I get no less than one message a day from somebody saying just thank you. So that lets me know. So it's like that trickle effect. If you impact one person, you've done something, because life is really meant to be us uplifting each other. We're a community, right? We all have a specific set of talents and gifts that we're meant to use to impact and uplift each other so we can actually all work together. That's the reality of it. That's the whole purpose of community.
We're meant to work in communities.
We're meant to work in communities. So, like, I have gifts that can help you. You have gifts that can help me. So it's all meant to work in unison. It's just figuring out what that is. So again, like, it led me here. So now I'm knowing, like, I love this community. I will always hold on to this community. I will always be part of this community. But now I know it's time for me to take it to the next level. I got to do something a little bit different. So
awesome. I love it. And words having power. I saw something about that on your IG. You talked about words having power, and I really liked what you had to say about that. Our past does shape what we are, but our past does not define us, and we have to be careful what we say about ourselves. That's what I took from your message over on your Instagram. I really liked that words having power thing.
Words have power.
Yes.
Words have power. So I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it, because, again, a lot of us as human beings, our biggest critic is usually ourselves. I was having a conversation with one of my best friends. I'm not going to call their name out right now, especially if they happen to be watching right now, because they know that I'm on here. But we were having a conversation, and I told them, I love to affirm people. Because again, that's I'll get to that here in a minute about empathy and affirming people and just acknowledging people on a daily basis. Right. But I was letting them know, I was like, listen, I just want to let you know that you inspire me and I'm proud of you. You're awesome. And their immediate reply to me was, why would you look up to me? I'm a train wreck.
Oh,
and I had to stop. And I was like, child, if you don't stop right now, listen, you know what? I said to them immediately, I said, you know what? I will take your train wreck over anybody else any day. You know why? Because even though you're a train wreck, you are still here and you are successful and you've done great things, and a lot of people look up to you. So I will take that train, because that train wreck got you to where you're at right now. You survived it and you're still here. This person has a lot of trauma in their life, I have a lot of trauma in my life, right? But they are
Yeah.
here and they're still doing it, and they are ambitious and they have goals, they have aspirations, and they are doing it, right? So I let them know, and they're like, okay, cool. Go ahead, call yourself a train wreck. You know what? I like that train wreck. I will follow that train wreck anywhere.
Yes. I love that, man. I love that.
So, but also along the lines of words have power. I mentioned this in one of my and so it's again like I see things, I deal with things every day, so it makes me want to say what I say. I love it when I go to the gym, right? Again, I'm a meathead. Like I get off on being the strongest person in the room. No cap,
That's cool.
right? Like,
that's cool.
bro,
I respect that, man. I have so much respect for that.
Because the reality is, bro, I'm 46 years old. I'm 46 years old. My body hurts. I've had 6 major surgeries because of football. Because I played football, even though I played collegiately, I didn't make it to the NFL, but I still played football semi-professionally for 16 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
I still put on shoulder pads and a helmet for 16 years playing semi-professionally. And I've had 4 knee surgeries, a bicep reconstruction, a shoulder surgery, and so I've beaten my body up. So yes, so like I still lift heavy in the gym. I still squat over 500 pounds. Go check my videos if you don't believe me. Go check my IG. I squat over 500. I deadlift over 500. I bench like 365. Go knock yourself out. They're there.
Damn.
So I don't. So I'm just saying. So,
congratulations on that.
But one thing that I love is when I'm in the gym and I see somebody, because the reality is all of us have fears and insecurities. Yes. Again, I don't care how big of a Billy badass you call yourself, especially because I've worked with a lot of Marines that try to act hard, but I've seen them behind the scenes and I know they're big crybabies sometimes, right? So, no matter how big and bad somebody is, they're dealing with something. So when I see people, especially other men in the gym, that look like they could be intimidated because, you come into a gym, if you're new to fitness and you're trying to get your life together, the last thing you need is somebody derailing you. Right? Because it's hard enough for a lot of people. I want to normalize that for people. When you're trying to get your life together physically and get your health in order and get in the gym, you don't know where to start. It's intimidating to walk into that gym and know what to do and where you're going. Right? So when I see somebody, trying and doing something, I don't care how much weight they're lifting. I don't care how they're doing. I don't care how complex the exercise is. If I see them in there and they're working hard, I take the time to stop and say, that's a good work. Good job. Nice. Hey, get it. You're getting it. Keep it up. Because I've seen that, and that one moment, those words, and anybody can do it. Anybody can validate somebody and affirm them randomly, and you can change their lives.
Very true.
Just by saying that moment right there, to sit there and say to that person, you're doing a good job. Do not stop. That could change their life to say, you know what? I can do this. Because they may be dealing with self-doubt, they're dealing with fear, they're dealing with imposter syndrome, they're dealing with all these things that we don't know about. Yep. And that one moment of somebody else affirming and validating them can change their lives. You, Scotty, everybody in the chat, you could walk down the street right now. You could go to your local store and go to anybody, and say, you know what? Have a nice day. You matter. You have purpose. Have a nice day. And taking that time, just those 10 seconds to acknowledge somebody, to acknowledge them, can save a life. Because somebody could be I kid you not, because I've seen it. I've been in the mental health game for 12 years. I have seen it where somebody's on the brink of committing suicide and taking their own life because they felt unacknowledged. They felt invalidated, but someone taking the time to stop and say, hey, how are you doing? How is your day? Have a great day, could make them stop and think somebody does care. And it could save a life. Period.
Something so small.
Something like that. That's simple. So I take the time to acknowledge people and who they are and what they do, and say, good job. That's why I was because it's a real thing. We don't want to take people for granted who they are and what they do. That's why I want to make sure I acknowledge you. Like, dude, this is huge. Like, dude, Scotty, you're where I want to be, bro. Look at this. Look at this stream. Like, who am I? Like, I'm sitting there trying to make a YouTube. I'm trying to make an Instagram, get a following, and get my word out there. And here you are, man. You doing it. Not like you doing this, man. You got your StreamYard going. You looking all professional and stuff. I just got this damn mic, man. What are we talking about? Like, I'm trying to figure this stuff out, bro. That's a real thing. So I want to make sure I gotta acknowledge. I give props where props are due. So again, that's why I told you, man. That's a real thing. So man, you've done it. You've done it, because a lot of people want to do what you're doing, but they don't know where to start. They do not know where to start. And so people will not do something because they don't know where to start, and they're scared of looking like a fool.
Yep.
Because they don't know what they're doing. When the
Yep.
reality is you just need to go. Just do it. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter if you have the microphone, it doesn't matter if you have the camera. If you have something to say or something to do you want to put out there, just go do it. Get your phone, get on your YouTube and click the little plus sign and do a short, do a little reel.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
easy.
doing. You know what I'm saying? That's literally what I'm doing. I had to get to that point. You know, I was talking to my woman the other, was a few while back, but like this microphone, because I've been wanting to get my own podcast going. I've had this microphone sitting in my Amazon box thing for like 6 months, just sitting there because I was scared to click the buttons. I didn't know what to do with it. Right. And that's a real thing.
Yep.
So no, everybody struggles with something.
So what made you finally be like, man, I'm gonna get the mic, I'm gonna do it?
Honestly, it's my woman. Like she's amazing. She's awesome. Nice. She's very inspirational, and yeah, I admire her. So I admire her. I look up to her. Yeah, and she's awesome because she's one of those. It's like, go do it. It's like, you got it. You got this. Like, go. You got this. You know who you are and what you can do. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I do. So let me just go do it. So yeah.
So do you do anything at all on YouTube? You play around with YouTube at all?
So what I'm doing now, so you see my rise and thrives, my rise and grinds on Instagram. All of them now are YouTube shorts that I am screen recording and putting on Instagram. And I'm adding the link to the YouTube. So I have a YouTube, I have it there. So I've got a bunch of shorts and so now my next step is to start my own podcast, to do talks. I want to talk about motivation, but I also want to talk about other things. I want to talk about relationships, and not just relationships with with an intimate partner, but relationships as friends and family, and how we interact with each other, how we look out for each other, how we take care of each other. Right? I want to talk about a bunch of different things and have guests on and have these talks, just like you have me on here right now. I want to do the same thing. Dude, I want to do that.
Great idea, dude. That's an amazing idea. Yeah, I think you should do it, man. Run with it.
And I had to humble myself and let me ask for help. So I reached out to a good friend of mine, Gen X Comics. He's a regular podcaster. He does shows. He has, does a bunch of stuff. So I reached out to him, and he was nice enough and gracious to say, hey, Morph, I got you. Here, let's do this X, Y, and Z. And he's been holding me accountable, so I love it. But I had to take that step, because I really didn't know what. So I'm making all these shorts and these reels. Like, where do I go next? Do I use StreamYard? What do I use? How do I do this? Right. So, but that's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. It's just getting started, doing it. And that same thing with the whole professional speaking thing. I just like, I just got to do this. I just got to go. I got to make the phone call, talk to somebody, talk to the consultants, and say, let's do it. Yep. Let's do it. I've been sitting on it for too long. And it took me getting knocked down from New York Comic Con and reevaluating my life at the beginning of the year to say, yes. And sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes what happens is why I tell people, is like, we're going to get knocked down. It doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down. You just got to keep moving forward. I don't care if you crawl. Life is a game of inches. Everybody loves the Hail Mary passes, the big touchdowns, but at the end of the day, it's a grind. It is meant to be inch by inch by inch. And as long as you're moving forward, that's still no matter how small, it's still progress.
Well, right. So it sounds cliche, but like every time that I've hit rock bottom in life, when I came out of it with a different perspective. I learned something from it. I know what not to do, and I know I'm able to think ahead and know that I don't want to be there again, and make different decisions. And I don't know, man. It's I forget where I was going with that, but it can be tough, man. It can be tough.
Yep. The biggest thing that I always just want to tell people, man, is like, we all have purpose. We all have a purpose, and we as individuals, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are here for a reason. We are here today. Our heart is still beating. Our lungs are still breathing. That means we have another chance to get it. Right. Yep. So the fact that we're still here means something. We're meant to do something else. And again, life is about what we can do to use our gifts to impact others, to lift up others around us. Right. Like I said, people inspire me all the time. then I can turn around and use my words to hopefully inspire somebody else. And then they use their gifts to hopefully inspire somebody else.
Yep.
And one of the biggest, like I said, one of the biggest things I do, I was like, this is what makes me different. This is my niche when it comes to my speaking, right? So if you look at motivational speakers anywhere, right? Go on YouTube, you can find a bunch of them. You have motivational speakers that are all about placating and coddling people and saying you're awesome, you're good, it's going to be okay, let me give you a hug and call it a nice day, right? Then you have the other opposite end where you have these hardcore yell in your face motivations like you gotta do this, you gotta do that. So my biggest I tell people all the time, when people are struggling with something, I always tell them I will empathize with you, but I will never sympathize with you. So when I say empathize, right? Because there's a big difference between empathy and sympathy. Empathy is just taking the time to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and acknowledge what they're going through and how they're feeling. Sympathy is when you feel sorry for somebody and hold their hand, right? I'm not going to hold your hand, right? So if somebody is struggling with something, if they're feeling something, if they're hurt really bad, I tell them all the time, like, listen, you got to feel it out. You got to acknowledge your feelings. You got to allow yourself to process that. It's like, listen, if you're struggling right now, listen, I will hug you and cry with you. But then we're going to find a stopping point. Yeah, it may be a day, it may be 2 days, but we're going to decide to flip the switch and get up and get back at it. We're not going to sit here and stay in this place. You can't stay in that place. You got to allow yourself to feel your feelings, right? Yes. Because your feelings are valid.
Yeah,
our feelings are valid. No matter how crazy they may sound, they're how we feel. But feelings aren't always facts. But our feelings are valid. So we just got to feel them, process them, realize what the truth is. Time to box that up. And now it's time to get back at it. Time to put your foot on the gas pedal, right? When that light at the end of the tunnel seems to get farther and farther away, we don't stop. We speed up because we want to get to the end of the tunnel. So we speed up, put a foot on the gas pedal. Let's go. So that's what I tell people. I always am like, listen, I got you. I feel where you're coming from. I acknowledge where you're coming from. I've got my struggles. Walk a mile in my shoes. I dare you, right? But everybody has their own story. You got your story. You shared part of your story with me, man. So when it comes to somebody's story, right? What you dealt with was hard, but it was normal for you, and you overcame it, and you're here right now. You're like, man, this is what I did. Here's where I'm at, right? When I hear your story, I'm like, man, that's amazing. Like, how? Like, that's incredible, right? Then if I share my story with you, you probably say the other thing. Same thing. You'd be like, listen, but how you do it? Like, I've 3 combat deployments. I've saved lives. I've lost lives. I've had to take lives, right? It's not easy. It's not fun, but it is my story. It's what's kind of what normal for me, but you'll be like, whoa, that's crazy. Yeah. Right? So everybody has their own story. We don't know what it is. We don't know what people are going through on a day-to-day basis. When you talk about like familial relationships, intimate relationships, we talk about like goals, aspirations, dreams, profession, all these things. Everybody's dealing with something. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. So that's why empathy is so important. We don't have to sympathize with people, but take the time to stop and say, you know what? I don't know what that person's going through. Let me stop and just acknowledge them, what they're going through, and realize they're going through something, and just give them a little bit of a break. Be empathic before we start judging people. Because unfortunately, because of this day and age of social media, we're constantly judging people. We don't know who the heck they are. We don't know them from Adam. But if you stop and take the time to just empathize and say, hey, you know what? Because in the day and age of social media, perception is reality. But that's not really reality, right? But what we see and perceive is now all of a sudden it's law of the land, and people can just start taking people to the stakes, burning them the whole nine, right? When we don't take the time to say, like, what is that person going through?
And it's not real. It's like you were saying. I think maybe we were backstage talking about it. You're seeing a highlight show with social media. You're seeing like a best of someone's life. It's not real. You're not seeing their real life. But man, this has been really refreshing. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mellow Dope. So glad that you were able to come hang out with us this week. Barely touched on any comics, man. What are you gonna pick up this year? What do you have? What are you eyeballing? What's on your Grail list for 2024? Is there anything that you're just out like really wanting to scoop up?
Oh man, I want the OG Scotty Young Run the Jewels variant. I do want that, right?
Yeah.
So of course I've got the Mexican foils. I work a lot with the Mexican foils. I
Sweet.
want
I
that
love
OG.
those.
I want that OG. I'm a big Run the Jewels fan. I want to obviously upgrade. So like what I do is like obviously like I got my Fantastic Four 52, first appearance of Black Panther. I'm a big Black Panther fan, huge Black Panther fan, huge.
Very cool.
So I want to upgrade that. You know, that's another goal of mine. But yeah, as far as those grails, yeah, that Eminem Punisher, that Eminem Punisher joint, I want that. I do
That's a
want
cool
that,
one.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's those are the ones that are like grails for me.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, those would definitely be cool to have. I don't have any of those. I wish I did. Well, anything else you want to talk about? We're at the hour mark right now. We wrap it up
Yeah,
soon.
and I got to go to I got to go pick up Genghis Sean from the airport. He's flying back from
Uh-oh.
ECCC right now. Yeah, he's on his way. He just got back from Emerald City Comic Con. Got to pick him up from the airport. But
Well, what do you got? What do you got coming up? Well, what can we expect from you in the next couple of weeks?
Next couple of weeks. This week, obviously, if y'all didn't know, Last Ronin 2 Re-Evolution. I have a variant with Stan Sakai. So Stan Sakai did the cover for me for that. So like the legendary Stan Sakai, he wasn't even going to do a cover for it, but like he did us a favor. So I worked directly with Doug on that one. So that's coming out on Wednesday. That C2E2. There's something going on in the background. There's a little date adjustment, so we'll see. We're supposed to have something for C2E2, but Marvel might have pushed a date back. But so we'll see. So I can't make the announcement yet, but like I'll be at C2E2. But yeah, that's pretty much the biggest thing right now. Working a lot with Nate Melendez, Natois Art. He's amazing. He just did a Mum Ra cover for us for Thundercast #1. It's beautiful. I love him. He's the king of remarks. Yeah, I love Nate Melendez. He's awesome out of New York. He's great. So,
Man.
but I think the biggest thing that I just want to say to people, like, I make space for people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do, right? I make space for people. So if you do not believe in yourself, if you are struggling, if you think that you don't have any way out and you don't know what to do or where to go, message me. I could tell you, in a 5-minute conversation with somebody, I could figure out how amazing they are. And that's why I love people. Just by having a 5-minute conversation, I could figure out how amazing somebody is. And it just astounds me, the people that I talk to that feel that they are hopeless. And I'm like, man, but do you not hear the heart and passion that you have? You know, so and I get it, right? Because I've been to that hopeless point. I go in and out. Like I had a horrible week last week, you know, emotionally. Right? Yeah. So, but we find a way. And sometimes we need people. Everybody needs somebody sometimes. So I promise you, if you're doubting who you are and what you do have purpose. You have purpose. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You have purpose. You're here for a reason. You are. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So if you need help figuring that out, I got you.
I love it, man. Beautifully said. And thank you so much. Guys in the chat, if for some reason you aren't already subbed up and following Morpheus Multiverse, man, go follow him. Awesome guy. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us, man. It has been a pleasure. It's been refreshing, man. Like they said in the chat, it's really been a refreshing change of pace this week. I'm so glad you could come hang out with us, bro. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, and Scotty, hey, thank you for even considering me. And again, man, thank you for inspiring me tonight, Scotty. You inspired me, so I want to say thank you.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That makes me feel really good. Makes me feel like I'm doing something right. So thank you for that, man.
I promise you are.
Thanks, dude. And thanks to all you guys in the chat who showed up to hang out with us tonight. You guys were awesome. I appreciate you guys. Next week, we got an awesome show. We'll be doing some movie stuff. So I hope that you guys can come back and hang out with us next Monday at 7:30 if you weren't busy. Between the Lines is canceled for tonight, but 22 Comics will be on in 25 minutes with his top 10 alternatives. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you guys can tune in for that. But for now, I'll leave you as we always do with a little bit of Biggie Shaq. See you guys later.
I'd say that one is a banger, man. It's a real certified banger, dude.
That's awesome. That's awesome.